Okay, if you watched the last video, I'm going to explain what happened. I was busy reading away, and my husband came into the bedroom, and he was not trying to scare me. And he walked all the way across the bedroom, and I was just reading to you guys and so into my book that I had no idea he was standing right behind me. So I saw him out of the corner of my eye, and it scared me that bad. And just so you know, that happens all the time around my house. He scares me quite often. I'm kind of jumpy like that. So I hope you got a good laugh out of that. I'm going to pick up, I'm actually going to start the section I was reading about her trading mules with Maria's family. I'm just going to start that section again. Okay, here we go. Maybe I scared you too when I jumped. I don't know. Trading places. When Maria's mother makes arroz con habichuelas y tostones, we trade dinners. If it's a school night, I'll run to Maria's house. A plate of my mother's baked chicken with Kraft mac and cheese, sometimes boxed cornbread, sometimes canned string beans, warm in my hands, ready for the first taste of Maria's mother's garlicky rice and beans. Crushed green bananas, fried and salted and warm. Maria will be waiting, her own plate covered in foil. Sometimes we sit side by side on her stoop, our traded plates in our laps. "What are you guys eating?" the neighborhood kids ask, but we never answer, too busy shoveling the food we love into our mouths. "Your mother makes the best chicken," Maria says, "the best cornbread, the best everything." "Yeah," I say, "I guess my grandma taught her something after all." Writing number 1. It's easier to make up stories than it is to write them down. When I speak, the words come pouring out of me. The story wakes up and walks all over the room, sits in a chair, crosses one leg over the other, says, "Let me introduce myself," then just starts going on and on. But as I bend over my composition notebook, only my name comes quickly, each letter neatly printed between the pale blue lines. Then white space and air, and me wondering, how do I spell introduce? Trying again and again until there is nothing but pink bits of eraser in a hole now where a story should be. Some of you might have that problem. Sometimes when I ask you to write in class, maybe the story's in your head, but putting it on paper is a little bit harder. Late autumn. Miss Moskowitz calls us one by one and says, "Come up to the board and write your name." When it's my turn, I walk down the aisle from my seat in the back, write Jacqueline Woodson, the way I've done 100 times, turn back toward my seat, proud as anything of my name and white letters on the dusty blackboard. But Miss Moskowitz stops me, says, "In cursive too, please." But the Q in Jacqueline is too hard, so I write Jackie Woodson for the first time. Struggle only a little bit with the K. "Is that what you want us to call you?" I want to say, "No, my name is Jacqueline," but I am scared of that cursive Q. No, I may never be able to connect it to a C and U, so I nod, even though I am lying. So now we know how she became known as Jackie. The other Woodson. Even though so many people think my sister and I are twins, I am the other Woodson, following behind her each year into the same classroom she had the year before. Each teacher smiles when they call my name. "Woodson," they say, "you must be Odella's sister." Then they nod slowly over and over again, call me Odella, say, "Oh, I'm sorry, you look so much like her and she is so brilliant." Then wait for my brilliance to light up the classroom. Wait for my arm to fly into the air with every answer. Wait for my pencil to move quickly through the 2 easy math problems on the sheet. Wait for me to stand before a class, easily reading words even high school students stumble over, and they keep waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting until one day they walk into the classroom, almost call me Odella, then stop. Remember that I am the other Woodson and begin searching for brilliance at another desk. I just thought that was a little sad. Hopefully teachers don't do that to you, compare you to your siblings. I think that sometimes we fall into that trap too as teachers. Writing number 2. On the radio, Sly and the Family Stone are singing Family Affair, the song turned up because it's my mother's favorite, the one she plays again and again. "You can't leave 'cause your heart is there," Sly sings, "but you can't stay 'cause you've been somewhere else." The song makes me think of Greenville and Brooklyn, the two worlds my heart lives in now. I am writing the lyrics down, trying to catch each word before it's gone, then reading them back out loud to my mother. This is how I'm learning. Words come slow to me on the page until I memorize them, reading the same books over and over, copying lyrics to songs from records and TV commercials. The words settling into my brain, into my memory. Not everyone learns to read this way, memory taking over when the rest of the brain stops working, but I do. Sly is singing the words over and over as though he is trying to convince me that this whole world is just a bunch of families like ours, going about their own family affairs. Stop daydreaming, my mother says, so I go back to writing down words that are songs and stories and whole new worlds tucking themselves into my memory. Birch Tree Poem. Before my teacher reads the poem, she has to explain. A birch, she said, is a kind of tree. Then magically she pulls a picture from her desk drawer and the tree is suddenly real to us. When I see birches bend to left and right, she begins, across the lines of straighter, darker trees, I like to think. And when she reads, her voice drops down so low and beautiful, some of us put our heads on our desks to keep the happy tears flowing. Some boys been swinging them, but swinging doesn't bend them down to stay as ice storms do. And even though we've never seen an ice storm, we've seen a birch tree, so we can imagine everything we need to imagine. Forever and ever, infinity, amen. She's saying when you read books and you hear stories, you can just, this imagination in your head can just go on and on and on. How to listen, number 6, another haiku. When I sit beneath the shade of my box oak tree, the world disappears. I like her haikus. Reading. I am not my sister. Words from the books curl around each other, make little sense until I read them again and again, the story settling into memory. Too slow, the teacher says. Read faster. Too babyish, the teacher says. Read older. But I don't want to read faster or older or any way else that might make the story disappear too quickly from where it's settling inside my brain, slowly becoming a part of me. A story I will remember long after I've read it for the 2nd, 3rd, 10th, 100th time. Stevie and Me. Every Monday, my mother takes us to the library around the corner. We are allowed to take out 7 books each. On those days, no one complains that all I want are picture books. Those days, no one tells me to read faster, to read harder books, to read like Dale. No one is there to say, not that book, when I stop in front of the small paperback with a brown boy on the cover, Stevie. I read, one day my mama told me, you're going to have a little friend come stay with you. And I said, who is it? She's reading that from a book. If someone had been fussing with me to read like my sister, I might have missed the picture book filled with brown people, more brown people than I'd ever seen in a book before. The little boy's name was Stephen, but his mother kept calling him Stevie. My name is Robert, but my mama don't call me Roberty. Roberty? I guess that's how you say that. If someone had taken that book out of my hand and said, you're too old for this, maybe I'd never have believed that someone who looked like me could be in the pages of the book that someone who looked like me had a story. This is good. This is getting really good. We're learning about how she wants to become a writer. And we'll be reading that part tomorrow. In fact, it's titled When I Tell My Family. I think her stories are very inspiring, and I hope that you're enjoying it. I know that I'm enjoying my first read of the book as well. All right, make sure you do the assignments and answer the questions about the story next.